Have you been watching the Justin Posey interviews? Maybe the one with Calazar and K-Pro, or you read the article from Mysterious Writings and you understand how important and how great the details are? Well, we're going to break them down for you. I'm Emma.
And I'm Jam, and we are Treasure Hunt with Us. What a breath of fresh air it was to hear such direct answers, such amazing answers, and we're going to go over them. We're so excited. We're looking at his frequently asked questions, and I thought there was some important stuff in there, so we're just going to review that. That's what we're doing today. What else are we going to talk about in the next few weeks?
Well, we've decided that the way Justin writes is just different than what we're used to seeing in the other treasure hunt we're looking at. So what better way to tackle the information and the understanding the styles? Because he says clearly to understand the poem, you've got to understand the man. To understand the man, you got to read the stories. There's 219-ish pages here. We're going to break it into 3 different parts and kind of look in and see what we can find as far as clues, if you were, or solves, or things that point at the important information to know about who Justin Posey is.
Yeah, I'm excited to do this. This is such great information in his book. These stories, I love the way he tells stories, the way he doesn't just explain a simple sentence. It's got a lot of, adjectives and adverbs and a lot of information in there to basically try to make it more interesting, I'm assuming. So
well, he's very articulate. I mean, he's very
articulate, and I'm very excited to go through these.
He said in a K-Pro and Calazar Live that he would come and let us interview him. I understand he's got a lot going on right now, but we're still hoping. I've sent you a few messages. I'd love to hear back from you.
Yeah, come on our show. We're going to ask some questions. We're going to have fun. That's what it's all about.
We're going to have a great time. Really so excited. We love a good family adventure. You clearly love a good family adventure. You're our kind of people. So we're super excited about potentially interviewing you. I know it's a lot going on. We'll hear, your people will call our people. I'm our people. I'm our people.
Yes, anyway, we have people, allegedly.
So. We do have people. They aren't people who you would know, but that's okay. That's not the point. Now, let's look at this.
Let's start with the frequently asked questions, right? So what does he say is hidden in, right? It's not the saddleback leather 16-inch grandfather briefcase.
I would use it. I would put my laptop in it every day when I go to work. I mean, I know I'm a millionaire now because I just found a big, beautiful, multi-million-dollar treasure, but I don't think I give up going to work.
Yeah, I mean, that's a beautiful briefcase, but it's not going to be in there. It's going to be in a container that's immediately recognizable, okay? What does that mean?
What does that mean?
To me, it's got to, in his video, it's going to be in the video. It's in his book. There's a picture in his book. You're going to see it and be like, oh my gosh. Like, to me, maybe that bronze dog is hollowed out, like one of his dog, Tucker.
Okay, here's the thing. I'm not saying you're wrong. Certainly, I don't know.
Up in there. Yes, stuff it up in there.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying this. How do you carry a bronze dog into the woods or the forest or, and then just leave it and think nobody's going to notice this. This fits. I think, hey, I would love it. I think it's so
60 cool. pounds. So you're like, like that. It's heavy.
And it's a bronze dog. How unbelievably clever, though, to create a cast of your dog as a bronze dog. A dog that's bronze.
Everybody who's looking for this treasure sees that dog, the bronze dog of Tucker, is going to be like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, it's certainly possible.
It's immediately recognizable. So,
there's a bunch of things it could be, right? Like it could be that. I mean, it could be something that's got like omega symbols on it because that's such a big deal. Like it could be one of the pelican cases. So like it shows the scenes of him packing his pelican cases before he's preparing to go out. Yep. I mean, it could be something like that. Gosh, there's in every frame, there's so many options. I mean, gosh, as morbid as it sounds, it could even be the urn that you see by his grandfather's.
Wow.
I don't know about that. I don't believe that. It couldn't hold 60 pounds, but that's not the point.
I'll tell you what it's not going to be. It is not going to be a replica or a box that looks like the Forrest Fenn box. You don't have to know anything about Forrest Fenn.
It's not going to be either of those things. That's the truth. That's fair.
It's going to be interesting to see what this is. I'm excited to see when this is found, what it's going to be hidden in. What is it that I'm supposed to immediately recognize that this is going to be? I'm super
how stupid we could be sometimes.
Yeah,
we could walk by. I one time walked by our uncle in the mall.
What is it immediately recognizable to him? May not be immediate unless it's the bronze dog stuffed with treasure.
I will tell you this: if it was a bronze dog, I would recognize it. I would.
That's all I'm saying. That's
I
all
do
I'm
think
saying.
though that like that's part of it. To your point,
Yeah.
it's going to be something that's in one of the pictures, right? Or something that's one of the clues, because he mentions that there's several clues in Golden Greed. There's certainly tons of pictures in the actual book, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I mean, there's a
absolutely.
lot of options. I think we need to put a pin in that one and come back to it.
100%.
Well, as we think about the possibilities, I think we should continue in our 3-part series to talk about maybe the possibilities we see in each part that it could potentially be.
Yeah, in pictures and things like that. As
Yeah.
we go through and stuff, it's be like, hey, look at this thing in the background. I wonder if that's maybe going to be the easily recognizable item, So
I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff on trails.
true story.
Got a Skippy jar.
Yeah. Well, and is this even on a trail? Probably not. We're going to go over that.
Actually, yeah, let's go through it. Let's get in there. What else you want to get? What else you want to talk about? Let's keep on the
The
frequently
9,000 miles. What did you
9,000
see?
miles.
You were telling me about that someone was saying 9,000 miles, 2 trips. That's 4,500 miles each trip. Half of
2250.
that is 2,250. So if you start in Texas and you go out 22, you're not going past Wyoming, right? But in reading the frequently asked questions, it's well over 9,000. So I think we could probably put that to bed that that's not going to be anything to it. Even though it might be, you know what I mean? It might be less than that. He says he goes way past it. So that means even if it was 9,000, which would be 2,250 miles away from Texas around the Wyoming area, it'd have to be somewhere in between there. So
when I looked at like where he is in Texas, and obviously I'm not going to be one of those people that busts him out, right? But where the Texas locations, there was 3 routes, if you will. One of them kind of came wide, went up through Dallas and Oklahoma, and then kind of over, and then that way. And then one of them went straight up through the middle of one wide. But the reality is I started to think about it. It's like 9,000 miles. Let's just call it 4,500. Okay, 4,500 miles could be so many places. It actually made me start to think about where it couldn't be as much as where it could be. Right. I think you and I talked about that kind of at length today, not to ad nauseum, but at length. And we kind of talked about some other things. Should we mention? Well, let's stick it there. 9,000 miles. It's a lot of miles. He went past it.
Over. It could be anywhere in the U.S. because of that. Right. The next thing he talks about in his frequently asked questions that I thought was really important is that there's differences between the ebooks and the hardcover books, which is weird to me. And he's basically saying, wait, I'm going to read it here just so I get it right. He says, serious searchers may find insights in comparing both formats. So now I got to be a serious searcher. I got both, but now I have to go through line by line. And I'll tell you what,
serious searcher better be serious as your partner. You better be serious.
I'm very serious.
Unbelievably serious. I mean,
it's my serious phase right now.
I did get the book on day 1. I also got the ebook on day 1. I feel like that makes me relatively serious, and I've read both, but I wasn't looking for differences, but now I'm like, well, I better get back in there and do some difference hunting.
We're going to have to go back in there and look at if we find any differences, we'll bring them out to you guys. We don't hide anything, sadly. So we will bring stuff out and give you some information on that. And the last frequently asked questions, and this is probably one of the most important one when he talks about that 30-day window, right? Mm-hmm. You have 30 days to contact the steward and complete the verification process. And this I missed this the first few times I read it over, but it says the verification process is simple and clear instructions are provided with the treasurer. Miss that window and you'll lose out on the Bitcoin. That's what I originally was thinking. But some people might be like, I don't care. The Bitcoin, it has what, 40, 50, $100,000 in it. The rest of this treasure is enough for me. I don't want to come forward. But he also says, miss that window. You miss out on the Bitcoin, the legal rights to the treasure, and probably a decent night's sleep. But really, is he saying that if you don't come forward in that 30-day window, that you may not have the legal rights to take that treasure? To me now,
I know what that means to me.
Let me hear it.
Treasure trove laws.
That can very well be. Because there's
too,
what's
today,
a good treasure trove law that we know about specifically from working the past and future box?
are you trying to make me have the Twitch come back? It's a Twitch. The California Twitch is what we're going to call it. Because
California
in California, if you find a treasure valued at more than $100, you must report it to the state.
Yeah,
And
if it's an unknown, and even if you do know, you have to give it back to the owner. So at that point, the owner would have to legally transfer to you.
Right. Which could be ways to help you get around taxes, but like that's an important feature. So when we started thinking about that, Idaho, bye, you're out.
Well, Oregon also has a law it's actually the only state, I think, that that's in the search area that has a law that says it doesn't matter where you find the treasure. If you find it, it's yours. They have that in Arkansas. They have that in other places, but it's in places like Tennessee, it's not. You can't go on private property and take something. If it's on private property, even if it was yours, it's now their property. But Oregon, if you find it, it's yours. It's all yours. And so that probably means that the 30-day window in legality may mean that Oregon's out. I don't know.
But it also points to treasure trove, right? It points to states with treasure trove laws. So it's something to think about. Now, that said, I want to make sure. I read something today on Reddit, and I want to give credit,
Yes, no, go. I'm saying.
Yeah, I want to give credit to the person who I do not know who wrote it. His name is Visible Quantity 9143, and he says, I'm a 7-year-old retired attorney who is not going to go looking for the treasure. Do it. Hey, 67-year-old attorney, Visible Quantity, get out there, friend. You're 67's young.
Hey, Forrest Fenn hit a treasure at that age.
Hey, yeah, exactly. Don't give up. If you're watching this, Visible Quantity, don't give up. We believe in you. But if I were, my vote would be Devil's Tower, and here's why. Now, like the actual place isn't important. What matters is the single first point that he makes on here. He says, Justin has an indemnity/release document on his page that searchers agree to if participating in the search. That document defines the choice of law jurisdiction as Wyoming. Why? For a court to accept jurisdiction in a case, there must be substantial contact with the state. Justin is in Texas. Searchers could be from anywhere. Therefore, the property must be located in the state of Wyoming. He goes on to declare the reasons that he believes it's at Devil's Tower, including looking at the map and it being beyond the map's edge. Things like Devil's Tower being made of granite, Belle Fourche River, the top-down drawing of Devil's Tower. So those kinds of things. So that's there too. Certainly, like I said, go look at him on Reddit, Visible-Quantity 9143, posted 2 days ago. But, of course, I started to dig because I'm a digger. It's what I do. And what he said about that indemnity clause, that is powerful. I really thought the reason that the book has it, and also remember, you agree when you clicked onto his website the very first time it was available, and certainly if you got the ebook, you agree to the indemnity, which is, it's binding, I thought it was because of the LLC. I'm wondering if he's right, and he just doesn't want the entanglement. Like what everybody went through with Forrest Fenn, that was very real. And I think that, I don't know Forrest. I mean, he wrote a book, he wrote a poem, he buried a treasure. He had so many great things going on. He's clearly an intelligent man, but when you go to on a whim decide you're going to bury a treasure as part of a legacy, right? It's a little different than when you're like a super analytical person. What was, for no lack of a better way of putting it, something that ended in a shit show, and I just don't think that Justin would want that. So I think that there's something to be said for this. We already have been talking about 2 potential solves, maybe 3 in Wyoming. Until you have a box in your hand, or in this case, a container.
Recognizable container.
Recognizable container. Maybe a dog statue. You want to keep looking for everything, but that's some pretty powerful stuff. So I'm not saying don't look in Arizona. I'm not saying don't look in Utah. I like Utah myself.
Hey, because of the treasure trove law, I now like California. because
Yeah.
all boxes are in
And let's
California.
just be honest. You always like California. You
I
got
do.
location bias like a mofo. Okay.
So frequently asked questions done. We are going to look now at an amazing interview. We'll link it down below. K Pro, Mike from Calazars. They
They just did it right. They did it so right. It was
they
so
asked
well
questions
done.
and he answered them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's
There was
answering that.
questions they asked, and let's just talk about it. They kept it so like they went boom, boom, boom. I mean, they were so organized. It was so well done.
They
It
did a
was
great job.
one of my favorite interviews that I've seen since our vast amount of treasure hunting, all 3 months. One of my favorite interviews I've seen so far. They just did it right. I'm not surprised they did it right, but they got really down to it. I mean, obviously different than the kinds of questions we'd ask. I'd be like, oh my gosh, tell me about this, tell me about that. And it would have almost nothing to do with it. But these were such important questions. And so now look at how much advantage we have. Everybody has such great advantage because they asked the hard-hitting questions. They were truly like almost like hard-hitting reporters. They asked the great stuff. So let's jump into it. There's so much going on. What do you want to talk about?
Kudos to them. Really quick, like, comment, subscribe, and email us. I put and email us at comments@treasurehunt.com. Thank you so much for your support.
You can do all three.
You can do all three. And
I love a good thumbs up.
And /or. So I just want to get out the way. I'm going to take this banner off because it can be annoying. So we don't want that. It drives you nuts. So one of the questions that they asked, the poem, is it in consecutive order and how many? What did he say? He said, yes. It's in the clues are in consecutive order, and there's at least 10 in there. So Forrest was exactly 9.
He 10 breadcrumbs.
Yeah. I think he said both. He said that, and then he said breadcrumbs. That's interesting. That gives us a huge amount of information of what we should be looking for. If we find 4 or 5, we're not there yet. You know, if you find 12, you found, well, maybe. If you found 20, you went too far, probably. So
if you found 20, it's that part where you're like, are those really clues?
Maybe.
So
let's see here. So he didn't want to expand on the 30-day window, right? He said you needed to in order to get the Bitcoin prize. But I'm wondering if there's more to it.
He said there's additional treasure.
That was a great one. There's additional treasure.
Mike asked him, blank, is there more? Does the steward have more? And he goes, yeah, the steward has more. I'm like, what more could you do? You just gave them 60 pounds of treasure.
Maybe it's a bronze dog.
You have leave the dog alone.
I want that dog. I love that statue. It's really cool.
Okay. I bet it means something to him.
Yeah, probably. It means more than him. I love Tucker in the show. He was, besides the hearse, he was probably one of my favorite. I love. Yeah. He was such a good dog.
I found it so interesting because that relationship is powerful. That relationship is super powerful, and it's like I can't imagine what it's like to get a dog and then train it to sniff bronze. And then
I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know that was a thing. I got my dogs. They're dumb. They're dumb dogs. I'm like, sniff this. They're like,
bark a lot.
No, they're more cats than dogs.
My dogs bark a lot. So I'm always like, my dog. In fact, I can hear my dog upstairs barking right now because he's mad that I'm down here and he's not in here with me.
Yeah, that sounds like your dog.
He doesn't know he's not a human. He thinks he's like, what? We're here. We're both humans. What are you talking about? So
another question they asked that we're going to talk about is the treasure buried, which is a great question. But the answer is even better.
Yeah.
If you know where to go, it won't matter either way. What does that mean? That tells me.
I know what I think it means.
Yeah, let me hear.
The only way that you can say something like that, if you know where to go, it won't matter if it's buried, is if there's GPS coordinates.
Oh, it has to be a pinpoint. For sure.
Like, I mean, I guess it could be like, then you step on this and like this and this and this, but I mean, he's a logical man. He's a logical man, right? He's a logical man. Wouldn't it be logical that a logical man would create a story and a thing that makes GPS coordinates,
Yeah.
And he says in its entirety.
Yeah,
It's
he's
really
right.
cool.
If you knew the exact coordinates, if you had an exact GPS spot, it wouldn't matter if it was buried. It really wouldn't, because you're in your spot. Okay, it's not above ground, so I have to bury. I have to dig. And if it wasn't buried, he might say, "Well, no, it's not buried." I mean, that would have been the easy response, right?
You know what I
So
forgot too?
maybe it's floating in the air. He probably invented some anti-gravity. That's why he's like, not really buried, but it's not really on the ground.
Statue in the air.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No. Here's another thing I want to point out before we go on to the next question. It's interesting and important to acknowledge that he does refer to it as abandoned. Like, again, you talk treasure trove, abandoned, versus hidden or buried. Abandoned is huge. If it was buried, he call it buried treasure. If it was hidden, he call it hidden treasure. These are words matter. Words matter, right?
Words matter. He's giving amazing answers. We're so thankful. We're so appreciative. Thank you, Justin.
He's so kind.
Yeah.
He put in a checkpoint.
Yeah. And so what's it? He says, is the map useful? Yeah, the map's useful, he says. I mean, there's Polaris on there, the North Star. There's only like 100 people that live in that town. Why is it on the map? I know that, what's it called? I think he has a place there, right?
Or a place there.
Yeah, but still, that's just like a weird place to put on there. So read the map, check the map out, look at all the locations. He says it's important, right? Or no, useful. It's not said important.
All the useful.
It's useful. So it's useful to me too. I'm using it. So
thank God.
Again, he said, if you solve the poetry in its entirety, you'll end at an exact location. That's really important.
Yeah. That's really important. Profound. He also made the comment, and I don't think it's one of the things we listed here, that there is a bit of a technical solve for his momentary geekness. And I thought, great.
Yeah.
So excited about that.
I love that. I mean,
I know thank God.
I was like, technical solve, but it's not important. But that's okay. If I can figure it out, it might give me a leg up.
That's the thing, is it's about finding the answers, right? And the answers, the breadcrumbs, as he puts it, getting us there. And I think that's fantastic. I think it's fantastic. But that's hugely important. And it's like as important as checkpoints, which he says there's checkpoints along the way to tell you you're going in the right direction.
Yeah, he says there's at least one checkpoint that if you don't hit that checkpoint, if you hit that checkpoint, you'll know you're in the right direction. Now, I hope that doesn't lead some people to be like, I found the checkpoint. I'm definitely going the right direction. But that's really good information.
I do really, truly worry about confirmation bias. Like, this is my checkpoint. This all makes sense.
Right.
I mean, you've already had like 4 where I'm like, oh, that's definitely what this means. It's supposed to be a checkpoint. No, I guess not.
Well, let me say this. If you're looking for the treasure and you think you're in the right spot, you better not be a mile away from your car. Another great question. A mile? Hey, I can hike that. That's not Hemmed-In Hollows.
Oh my gosh. It's true.
That's not Hemmed-In Hollows.
It's
we
not.
can do that.
About that.
Yeah.
No, but to your point, like, I mean, I personally, of course, was pretty excited. K-Pro seemed pretty excited. There's a mile.
Yeah, we're all
like,
very excited.
My hiking soulmate when it comes to that. We were like, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe hiking's growing on me a little bit, but that's not true. But a mile, and then he also makes the comment that it's not going to be on hiking trails, right?
Yeah.
So that's huge, because so often when we go to look, one of the first things we do is pull up a hiking map. But look what trails are here.
Right, because he says basically that he doesn't want someone stumbling off a trail to relieve themselves. If they do that, then they don't want them stumbling on the treasure. To me, this says it's not 3, 4, 5 yards off the trail. It's either way off a trail or it has nothing to do with the trail. And that sucks, because that's a lot of part of our searching. Yeah, we're trail name hungry. We read every trail name we can find to see if it's associated with anything that we're currently reading. So that's a big clue. I mean, it could still be on a trail, but it's not. It's going to be way off of it. It's not going to be close to it. So,
but not more than a mile. Don't forget that part.
Yeah, you're right. Not more than a mile. And
a mile away from the car, and then we went 5 miles off the trail. So
you should have an exact location.
I'm like, is this Scott we're talking about? Scott's the one who does that, right? So
exactly. The other thing is no intentional red herrings. That's big, right? Because you're always worried, Is this a red herring? Is that a red herring? For him to come out and say, I didn't put any intentional red herrings out. What a great question, right? What
That
a
was
great set of
great
information.
question.
Because
That was a
that
great
is
question.
one of the hardest things, is where this doesn't fit with my clue. I'm going to disregard it because this part is a red herring. The fact that now you know it's not a red herring, crap, this is probably the wrong location. I got to keep fighting. I got to keep searching.
But it was a testament to how prepared K-Pro and Calazar Mike were, because their questions were the kind of questions that helped you have a quality hunt, right? And so it's like when you're doing an interview, I think the hardest part is coming up with questions that are actually interesting and meaningful. And I feel like they just did such a good job asking questions that meant something.
Yeah, right? I mean, the fact that they found out there is a checkpoint that will give you zero doubt you are trending in the right direction. Zero. Great clues, great questions. I love it. I've got so much out of this interview. They talk about some of the hints in the series that will guide you in the book, but they're not really needed, it sounds like to me. They're just help you guide you through the book is what I'm getting on that. So that's interesting. Does maybe some of those numbers reference pages or lines, or, the 44th page, the 26th line, the blah, blah, blah.
I mean, if you're like us, you probably watched it a couple times.
We watched it a lot today alone. Stopped on every JCB. What time is it? Did he move that clock? Wait. So he went all the way around. All the way back to
let's talk about the clock. Let's just take 2 seconds, then we'll get into mysterious writing. It's such an important part. But we have been in battle with ourselves today over the clock, because he's sitting there talking, and the clock is on 6 o'clock. It's like 6:03, and he gets up and he walks around and he spins the clock, the second hand or minute hand, around the way you would do it, and it's at 6, right? So if you're spinning it around, it would be going to 7, right? But it stops at 4:05-ish, 4:06.
That's because he went all the way around. He went 7, 8, 9.
And that's just, I don't know. That seems kind of ridiculous to me. And then it goes back to the chair, and the clock is, what did we say it was? I can't remember. Sorry, I wrote it down earlier, but
it went from 6:06 to about 4:06, roughly.
And then back to like 1 something.
Then he sits down, and the time's totally different, right?
Yeah.
And so it's all interesting. But here's the thing, in my theory on this, that clock doesn't actually move, because there's so many scenes in different parts of there where it's literally the same exact time. And so you're like, yeah, okay, well, that's because they're cutting scenes. Well, they filmed it here, and then they filmed it here, and they filmed it here, and then they're going to take a piece of this. And so therefore, but it wouldn't be exactly the same each time. Eventually it's going to move a couple minutes.
It's like 6:18 versus 6:06. You're just like,
he's like fast talking. He's like, blah, 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 so that he can get multiple scenes with the time. Hold on, I'm going to look it up, because this is one of my favorite times that it shows up. And I said,
while you're doing that, I will point out though that I was, of course, watching people were talking about it was either in Discord or one of the lives for Calazar, and they were talking about the lock. And so I started timing, like figuring out where it was. Yes. And then it dawned on me that he continues to say that he had no creative license, that he had nothing to do with that. So some of the things, like when I'm looking, I'm like, am I giving this too much credit?
Right.
Am I giving it too much credit?
Here's what I give the most credit.
Okay.
The clock is at 4:18-ish, 4:19-ish, 4:18-ish, multiple times, and it's blue. If you look at the handles on it, the lights on it, if you pause it and look at it, in that scene, maybe it's the lighting, but they're like literally blue. It's almost like highlighting it. Hey, now that it's at this time, look at it. And remember when he changed the clock from 6:04 to 4:04, he sits down? I'm pretty sure it was this time. So I think that's probably one of the most important time. Maybe he's going for 4:20. I don't know. I
don't know him like that.
Some IT people like to partake, but I won't throw that in there.
He doesn't seem that guy.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like he's that guy.
Mysterious writings. They ask 6 questions.
I love the 6 question interviews.
It's 6 questions. They ask like 30 questions. Like, I'm only going to ask you 6, but I'm going to ask you 4 or 5 questions every question. I love it.
Is it clever? 6 questions with multiple bullet points? That sounds like 6 to me.
It's good. It is 6. It's really good. I enjoy
like when you do shopping and an outfit has both a shirt and pants. It's still one item.
Yeah, and that's where he wrote, the poem contains at least 10 clues, 10 breadcrumbs leading to my container of wonders. Everything.
Love it. I love that he continues to call it a container because it tells me it's not a bronze dog.
It's a bronze dog. Could be a container.
Completely.
You ever see those piggy banks and you take off the little rubber seal, and that's how you get your money out and stuff? That's what he did. On the bottom of that dog, you just take off the seal and there's treasure inside.
You say that it's a bronze dog piggy bank.
If I'm right, I want everybody. If it turns out that it was in a bronze dog, first of all, I want that dog. Second of all, you need to come on here and say how amazing I am.
I'll tell you that. Okay. If it is in fact in a bronze dog piggy bank,
yes.
60 pounds. First of all, that bronze dog is probably like 100 pounds at least.
Plastic bronze. Who knows?
You wouldn't put a treasure container.
It's hollow
out there. It would. Bronze is bronze. That would be like 100 pounds of bronze to make that dog, and it's a beautiful sculpture.
Do we have bronze experts that would know how much a bronze dog, that dog, if it was hollow, how much it would weigh? I don't know. We're going to find out, but maybe that's why the steward still has some, because the bronze dog took up most of the weight. And so you got to get the treasure. The steward has it. Give him a call.
Okay. So mysterious writings about it.
Here we go.
Get in there.
Got a shout out to one of our favorites out there. They said, you don't need no fancy equipments for my treasure hunts, folks. Unlike some other treasure hunts, where you practically need a PhD in cryptozoology. That's a shout out to who?
Dr. Crypton. Because he's brilliant. Like, again, evil genius, regular genius. The guy knows stuff, and he's brilliant when it comes to deciphering puzzles and of all kinds. And it's like, and I have it on good, intel that he'll have another video out relatively soon. So, I mean, that's coming, and he, I don't want to give away his secrets, but there's some good stuff coming out from him, especially if you're looking at past and future. So
go subscribe to his channel so you don't miss it. He's going to be dropping a video very shortly. I'm excited to see it. I can't wait to see it.
It's going to be good stuff. So, but
shout out to Dr. Crypton. Love it.
But I asked him, I said, we started asking questions about ciphers, because to me, there's something there. And then when Justin says, yes, there's a technical thing in there, I'm like, oh, well, I have no hope. But thankfully I have you. So I have hope again. But, he was my expert. He was my resource, and he just knows stuff. And so that means we keep saying to ourselves, is he watching these kinds of things? And it seems to me like there's a good chance he is.
Yeah, absolutely is. And another question they asked, and we kind of talked about this earlier too, right? Is the treasure isn't lurking anywhere near the trail. He didn't want the situation where a hiker accidentally stumbles upon it while looking for a discreet location to relieve themselves. That would ruin the whole point of the hunt.
I mean, where are these hikers? Why are they all peeing all the time? Don't you go before you go on the trail? I mean, that's the first thing I do is go to the bathroom, and then we get in the car, and then we go.
Sometimes you have to pee, but let me ask you this: who's peeing in the first mile of the hike? If you can't wait in the first mile of the hike, yeah. I mean, I get it. Mile 10, 11. Okay, I got to go pee.
I feel like you can hold it for 2 miles. But I mean, and this book has so much fart jokes and fart references. There's a whole thing about how his uncle, if you read the part about how his uncle collected a year of flatulence and gave it to everybody as a recording for Christmas.
That's a great.
And all I could think was that reminded me of James.
That did. It reminded me of her brother. I can imagine him doing that.
Right. It was just so funny, and I just thought there's just multiple. He doesn't shy away from the real, right? There's no like, oh, this is inappropriate. I can't talk about my uncle's flatulent tape, or But yes. That I'm doing in the bathroom, and I think it's really honest and real, and how raw he is. I find it very entertaining.
Yeah, I agree. So the last one we're going to talk about, and we're going to post again a link to their website where you can read these, because there are more details and stuff. It's really good stuff. He says, as an engineer by training, right? This is the guy I thought before I read this book. When I saw the videos, I'm like, okay, This is the guy. He says, as an engineer by training, I approach puzzles the same meticulous precision I once applied to arranging the condiments in my refrigerator alphabetically, then by expiration date, then by personal preference. My treasure hunt is a built-in checkpoint, which we already talked about. They'll give you the reassuring feeling of, yes, I'm not completely lost, wasting more precious vacation days on a wild goose chase.
That's kind of amazing though, that he's like, listen, I don't want you to lose your vacation time, because not everybody has the opportunity to just drop everything and go out there, right?
Yeah.
Somebody at my office said to me, you make it look effortless, that you're always like traipsing around. And it's like, effortless? Are you kidding? You know how many bags I take? You know how many bags I take with me when I go to an airport? You want to see what the look on their face when they're like, what's in the box? And I'm like, it's a Skylink. And they look at me like, oh,
yeah. It's hiking poles. It's gloves. It's multiple layers of clothes.
Oh, yeah. Depending on how long you're there, it's like,
different pairs of shoes. So,
I mean, you see, I generally go everywhere with several pairs of shoes. When you go hiking, it's like, oof. Yeah. But and so like, I just think it's something to be said for the fact that some of the nuances of his hunt that he's taken into account. Like, he wants you to be, I wouldn't say easy enough. He wants it to be something that you could solve without having to have all of his technical knowledge. That's huge, right? Because I don't know anything about creating X-ray glasses.
Yeah.
Or what do we call deionization of titanium or something like that? I'm like, what? I haven't looked it up.
He's really smart. And he says he hopes it lasts at least 2 months and stuff. And I think that's his fear from going, I am like ridiculously smart. Every time I read the book or see this part on the TV or something like that, I'm like, oh gosh, everybody's seeing this, but it's not that easy. It's a lot easier when you know all the clues to read the clues. Like, if you knew that, there was a fish named Brown, you probably would have been able to figure that poem out a lot sooner.
He's basically the opposite of Forrest, who said it was going to take 900 years to find his treasure. Yeah. It took 10 years. So, Justin now thinks 2 months. I like to.
He's hoping it lasts at least 2 months, but he doesn't know how long it takes. I'm hoping it lasts at least, 4 or 5 months. I am hoping to at least get out searching once. I want one stab at this. Give me one stab at this treasure.
If I can find a real checkpoint. We're thinking sometime in April. That's really, we're looking at sometime potentially in April if we can get some more. There's a difference between a checkpoint and confirmation bias, right? What the difference is, I'm not really sure yet. But I guess
we're going to be in Arkansas. We'll be in Arkansas.
We'll be in Arkansas in April.
We are looking for the Pokemon box. We will be out there searching. And we're not done with JCB. We're going to do a JCB video probably this weekend. We'll drop something.
And we actually need another JCB video next week. I'm boots on the ground JCB at Moonrock this weekend.
Right. We'll talk about that. We'll do a whole video on it. That is the past and future box that we're looking for out there. So we'll do a past and future. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about where you were, how much fun it was, and we'll go over some past and future stuff. Although we probably won't dive into the word search that much. So just letting everybody know, we're not going to bring the word search up. It's kind of difficult for us to show that. And there's already a professional doing it. Dr. Crypton, they'll have a video out this week. Look for it.
Oh yeah. It's not maybe this week. It's coming soon. That's
right. It's coming soon. I'm excited to see it. I follow him.
We're going to put a link down below to go ahead and follow it. The way he views things is just very different than the way we view. Well, maybe you view it a little bit but he just goes really deep. He's very detailed. He's very thoughtful in his solves as well. Evil genius, like I said, or enchanted genius. I don't know, but there's a lot going on there. And we're going to break the book down, the Beyond the Map's Edge. We're going to break it into 3 pieces. We're going to talk through the thoughtful clues. We're going to talk through the things that we think are valuable, because again, the goal is to know the man. So we're going to talk through it, talk about it not as clues. We're going to talk about it as understanding associations, because this is literature. It's a little bit different than what we've been reading in other hunts right now. So we want to break down what's important and what's uber important, because there's different degrees, right? Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But until then, we'll definitely get something out. We're hoping to watch the marathon this weekend for K Pro and Calazar. That's supposed to be great. April 5th,
Watch
12
that.
hours. Don't forget.
Don't
forget. That's
going to be good. K Pro and Mike Calazars, they are doing a marathon on treasure hunting, JCB, new treasure hunters and stuff. It's going to be exciting. You can come in, you can come out and just check it out all day.
It's going to have a schedule for all different things, boots in the ground. I think they're going to do there's treasure inside and beyond the map's edge, all the little pieces all over the place. There's a lot coming on. There's a lot going down the line. It's going to be great. Make sure you make time for it. And then, like always, if you have anything you want us to look into, anything you want to talk to us about, don't forget to email us at comments@treasurehuntwithus.com.
Yep. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Until then, we'll see you guys. Thanks so much for watching today, everybody.
Thanks.